we're joined by Shelagh Turner and Mike Gowett from the Canadian Mental Health Association at a very interesting fork in the road where CEO Shelagh Turner leaving her position after 17 years and Mike taking over. So who wants to pick up what your thoughts are at this point of your organization?
Well, I'll start by expressing some gratitude of 17 amazing years working with some incredible volunteers and staff, and having the privilege of being able to develop, like sort of having a test tube. I've had the opportunity to work with folks to create new programs, just take an idea and actually make it come to life. It's such a privilege to have a career to do something that you get paid for, that you love, and to work with amazing people. Like who can count that as in their life?
Right. What you both do has so much meaning, and it must be nice to leave after the foundation of the Foundry has been set up by your organization to help young people who are struggling with mental illness.
Yeah.
That must be a feather in your cap.
Well, I think we're really proud of Foundry, and there's so much more. And in 17 years, the world has changed. But we've been doing work in homelessness services, preventing homelessness. We've been building supportive housing capacity, some really cool programs around scattered sites, our wellness programs. We've been doing community education and workplace psychological safety. So there's a lot to our organization. It's certainly a lot more than Foundry, but Foundry is certain. I can count that in as a milestone in a great career.
So, Mike, as you sort of take the helm at the CMHA in Kelowna, what is there some kind of new kind of Mike Gowett kind of direction that you want to take things in? What's sort of on your wish list of things you'd like to accomplish?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's both exciting and a little bit sad. Sheila and I have worked together for the last 11 years, and we've done some amazing things. Foundry is just but one, and so really going to miss Sheila and our working relationship every day. In terms of moving forward, there's a few things we need to focus on. There's no doubt that the pandemic has impacted people's mental health. It's certainly impacted our organization, and certainly part of a focus moving forward is our people, and ensuring that our people have the tools and the resources they need to do their best work. And as a mental health organization, their mental health and well-being is our first and foremost priority. And so that's a huge focus of the work moving forward, our organizational culture and our people.
Right.
We are looking to get back to things that we did that established Foundry, the ability to get back to building partnerships and relationships with the community. Again, for the last couple of years, everybody's had their heads down, working really, really hard. And, again, the cure or the fix to the pandemic is to stay socially distant and socially isolated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's played itself out too in terms of our ability to work together like we have in the past. So there is no doubt that we will re-engage with partners, re-engage with the community, so that we can do really impressive, new, and innovative things like the Foundry.
Right. You have to literally bring people back together.
Literally have to. We have the opportunity now to get people back around the table and be face to face, which,
right.
in a world of Zoom, in the last 2 years where we've lived on Zoom, while that's been a useful tool in our tool belt, it certainly has impacted the quality of relationships. It certainly impacted, again, our partnerships, and so that's another
right.
huge focus moving forward.
In terms of dealing with mental health in the community, one thing I've noticed is this is a phrase that people use all the time now, mental health. It's amazing that your organization nationally had that as a phrase, decades and decades ago, but now it's part of people's speech to talk about it. So that's got to be a big gain.
Yeah, it's incredible, the growing awareness about the importance of mental health. I think we have to be careful of that mental health doesn't equal mental illness. That
Mm-hmm.
you're mentally ill means that or the thinking that if I have a mental illness, it's the absence of mental health, and that's not true. We all have
We
mental
all
health.
have a mental health. It might be really good today.
Exactly, and it changes minute by minute. And so our work and our collective work is to help people think about what are those things that support their mental health and well-being. Now they may have an illness, but how do you stay well when you have an illness? If that
Right.
makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of effort to destigmatize, the subject of mental health, but I still don't see too many people busting into the office saying, my mental health is all messed up, and starting that conversation. I guess it'll come, but I don't know. Are we making strides there where people,
Well, I think so. I actually think that there is a lot more awareness by managers and employers that they need to, we're not there yet, but they need to be aware of the mental health and well being of their employees. And just as Mike was saying, his number one priority, or our number one priority, is our people. You've got to look after your people because they do the work that supports the
right?
community.
And prior to this interview, our conversation really seemed to be directed to the fact that it's nice to work with people, and the Foundry plays into that when they're young, when mental health issues haven't, become a disaster yet, right? Dealing with things young instead of, oftentimes, I guess they wind up needing your help when they're decades down the road and things are really bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because we provide such an array of services. We have the opportunity through places like Foundry, through some of the youth housing we do and other initiatives, to move upstream. And really, what's required is to intervene earlier, right? And that can be at an earlier age, to get to young people, to provide them with the supports, the skills, the connections they need to prevent them from becoming unwell and experiencing mental illness. That can apply across the board. As the pandemic has demonstrated, more and more people have expressed concerns around mental health. Having someone to go to, having a counselor to talk to, it may be a single session, provides them with an opportunity to intervene and to do that early. And the impact that that can have on preventing things from getting worse is significant. And so that certainly is a place, that's an area and a focus for CMHA. It has been,
Right.
it is, and it will continue to be.
And the paradox of that is that the funding for services is not necessarily oriented to prevention and
Right.
early intervention. It tends to be oriented to once the crisis is
Right.
happened.
Crisis management instead
Yeah,
of,
and part of that is, I mean, it's a bigger issue of around 4-year election cycles, and how when decisions get made, who's making the decisions for funding,
right.
etc. But if I can just add, one of the things that has been so profound to organizations like ours is the support of the community. And we have had the most incredible donors and community partners that have embraced the work of our organization and of our team. And we wouldn't be here without that support. And
Right.
this community, Kelowna, is so generous.
Yeah.
And so I think where the future lies is in that collaboration with business, with donors, with government, with community agencies, all working together to solve some of these wicked
Right.
problems.
Yeah. Homelessness remains a big problem. One thing I like, whenever I address the issue, I try to somehow remind people that these are human beings. They're not just a symbol of a problem, and maybe there's more of them on your street than you like. And what are we going to deal with this? These are individuals, even the ones that might look like the bad ones, right? Are we getting anywhere with having our communities see the humanity?
I think there's movements forward. I think the reality is it can be pretty frustrating at a distance, or if those behaviors impact you, whether you're a business person or a homeowner and you have a negative experience. What I would say is we serve thousands of people. We house hundreds of people, and never once have I met someone who doesn't have a story. Nobody I've ever met, and I've been doing this for 28 years, and I started working with youth and youth that were on the streets. Never met someone that said, when I want to grow up, you know what I want? I want to be addicted to drugs. Never met a person that told me that when I grow up, my goal is to be homeless. That's just not real. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And what I do know is that people have experiences, whether it's tragic loss in their lives, or maybe they're struggling with their mental health and they don't have the family support to turn to. The people out there are human beings. They all have a story, and the reality is, the compassion is going to go a lot further in helping to address this issue than continued stigma.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hope this question doesn't perpetuate stigma, but when we deal with issues of repeat offenders, this is something that's been talked about lately in Kelowna in particular, and in cities around the province. And we have a provincial government now that wants to go forward with some creative ways of dealing with some of the people who are drug and sort of petty crime entrenched, from just having this cycle of meeting the police, meeting the courts, back out again. No one's benefiting. Now, the thinking is to divert people out of that and say, and have this individual seek the help that they need. It seems like a big opportunity for your organization to have an opportunity to reach more people.
Sure. And it's really a great opportunity to rethink. So rethink how the systems are created. What are they actually helping people? And so I definitely think that we're on the right track when we use creative solutions to some of these really complex problems.
Right. Just, punishing people, right? And if you do send someone to jail for a few years, what do they just learn tips from other people in jail about how to commit crime. I mean, there are programs in our corrections facilities, but I think your average person doesn't benefit from time behind bars.
I think the key word is creative.
Yeah.
And I think what really excites us is about being part of opportunities that are creative or innovative. You know, if punishment worked, in all cases, we wouldn't be in this place, right? And so the ability to look at situations differently, the ability to work together in coordination, collaboration, that's what's exciting. And we want to be part of creative and innovative solutions to help people be mentally healthy.
If someone is driving around our community, and you mentioned how much community support you get, and they feel, yeah, you know, I want to support what you guys are doing more, what do? Write a check? How can people help?
Well, there's all sorts of ways. So there's definitely through donations, through their time, through their expertise, offering expertise, being a part of the dialogue, the conversation. And right now we're in a labor shortage. We're looking for people. We want great people to join our organization and be a part of something great.
Right. I mean, you mentioned it. It sounds to me like you're one of those people that hasn't worked for a living. You've pursued an interest, right?
And bumped along and found the most incredible opportunities at every turn. So yeah, I've had a really incredible career.
I mean, you've probably seen a lot of misery, but you've probably seen some great successes too.
I have indeed, and it's a real privilege to have been a part of that.
What do you get out of this kind of work, Mike?
The ability, take Foundry for an example. When I started in this work, I was working with young people one-on-one, and that had impact. I got to a point where the emotional toll of that was just too much. I wanted to continue to make a difference. And so the ability to take an idea, and this is where we've had an awesome 11 years, is to take an idea and turn it into something. The idea that is now Foundry was a conversation that was had. It started with a $10,000 grant, and we just worked it from there and connected and brought people into the conversation, and it's turned into this initiative that is, it was groundbreaking for Kelowna, and it's across the province now, and still have the ability to make a difference for those young people that I helped directly in a different way.
So Kelowna really led the way for the whole province with that kind of outreach in mental health?
We were part of the first 5 Foundry sites in British Columbia, and we were part of the foundation of that.
Right.
So, yeah.
And what was interesting was that a couple of other communities were having the exact same thought at the exact same time, trying to build something. And it took a vision, and it took a catalyst, which was Dr. Steve Matthias, who brought all of these conversations he was having, had us all come together, and it became the sort of catalyst or nucleus for what is Foundry
Right.
across BC.
So once you're gone, is Mike going to keep your cell phone handy so he can call you up when he reaches a sticking point?
Well, I definitely, yes.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, we've got a really great friendship that we've developed over 11 years, and I'm really passionate about the organization that I've been a part of, and about the work. So I'll always be in the background, the most ardent supporter of CMHA Kelowna
All right.
and of our community.
Well, thanks for your service, and good luck, Mike.
Thank you.
And thanks both of you for joining us
Yeah, thank you.
on Kelowna Now.